On a distant planet called Zorath, a shadow fell over its bright cities. The sky, once filled with colorful birds, was now dark with smoke and destruction. The Zarathons, a fierce alien race, had come to conquer Zorath. They were cruel and powerful, attacking without warning and leaving chaos in their wake. The people of Zorath watched in fear as their homes were destroyed and their families were torn apart. In the heart of the capital city, a group of leaders gathered in a large hall. The walls were made of shining crystal, but today they felt heavy with sorrow. King Edrin, the ruler of Zorath, stood at the front of the room. His face was lined with worry as he looked at the faces of his council members. They were all filled with despair. "We have lost so much," King Edran said, his voice shaking. "The Zarathons are too strong. We cannot fight them alone." The council members nodded, their expressions grim. They had tried everything. Brave soldiers had fought, but it was not enough. The Zarathons kept coming, and every day brought new losses. Among the leaders was a young woman named Lyra. She had always been a fighter, brave and determined. As she listened to the king, she felt a spark of hope. "What if we reached out for help?" she suggested. "There are stories of a powerful race called humans. They are known for their bravery and skills in battle. Perhaps they can help us." The room fell silent. The idea was both exciting and terrifying. Many council members were doubtful. "But can we really trust them? We don't even know if they exist," one elder replied, shaking his head. "We might be wasting our time." Lyra stood tall, her eyes shining with determination. "We have nothing left to lose. We must try! If we do nothing, the Zarathans will take everything from us." The king looked around the room. He saw the fear in his people's eyes and the desperation in their hearts. After a long pause, he nodded slowly. "You are right, Lyra. We must take the chance." With the decision made, the council began to discuss how they could reach out to the humans. They remembered a tale of an ancient device hidden in the mountains, said to be able to send messages across the stars. The council sent a team of brave explorers to find this device. As the explorers journeyed through the rugged mountains, they faced many dangers. The path was steep and the air was thin, but they pushed forward, driven by the hope of saving their planet. After days of searching, they finally found the old device. It was covered in dust and vines, but it still glowed with a faint light. The explorers worked quickly, cleaning the device and figuring out how to use it. They wrote a clear and urgent message, explaining their plight and asking for help from the humans. With trembling hands, they pressed the button to send the message into the vastness of space. Back in the capital, the council waited anxiously. Days turned into weeks, and the hope of receiving a response began to fade. The Zarathons continued their attacks, and the people of Zorath felt the weight of despair pressing down on them. But in a distant galaxy, the message reached Earth. Scientists and military leaders debated the truth of the message. Some believed the plea for help, others thought it was a trick. As the days passed, time felt like an enemy to Zorath. The people prayed for a miracle, yearning for the strength of the humans to come to their aid. In the quiet moments of night, Lyra often stood on the balcony of her palace, gazing up at the stars. Each twinkle felt like a whisper of hope. "Please," she would whisper to the stars, "send us help." Deep inside her heart, she believed that they were not alone in this fight. Little did they know that soon their call for help would be answered, and a new chapter in their fight for survival would begin. The courage of the Zorathians and the strength of the humans would soon unite in a way they could never have imagined. The days dragged on in Zorath, filled with worry and fear. The once bright skies were often darkened by smoke from the battles with the Zarathans. King Edrin's heart felt heavy as he watched his people suffer. He knew they had to act quickly. They had sent their message to Earth, but time was running out. In the capital, the atmosphere was tense. The council gathered again in the great hall, and the air was thick with uncertainty. "Have we heard anything?" King Edrin asked, his voice filled with hope. A council member shook his head, eyes downcast. "No, my king. Nothing has come back. The Zarathans grow stronger every day." Lyra stood up, her spirit unwavering. "We must prepare for the worst, but we also have to believe in the message we sent. It was our only chance." The council listened, her words resonating with them. They all wanted to believe that help would come, but doubt hung like a dark cloud over their hearts. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, a team of scientists studied the mysterious message they had received. They sat in a large room filled with screens and blinking lights. Dr. Helen, a respected scientist, leaned closer to the screen. "This message is real. It describes a dire situation. We need to investigate," she said, excitement sparking in her voice. The military leaders were not so sure, but sending a fleet to help could be dangerous. "We know nothing about these Zorathians or their enemies," General Mark replied, crossing his arms. "What if it's a trap?" Dr. Helen sighed, feeling frustrated. "But what if it's not? What if we can save lives? We can't turn our backs on them. The universe is vast, and we might be the only ones who can help." After a long discussion, the leaders finally agreed. They would send a small fleet to Zorath to investigate. They prepared the ships, ensuring everything was ready for a journey into the unknown. The commander of the fleet, Captain Elias, was chosen for this mission. He was brave and known for his quick thinking in tough situations. Back on Zorath, Lyra and the others continued to wait. The days felt like months, filled with anxious glances toward the sky. They had sent their message, but hope was beginning to wane. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lyra climbed to the highest point of the palace. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer to the stars, wishing for help. Suddenly, she saw something bright streaking across the sky. Her heart raced. "Look!" she shouted, pointing. The council and citizens gathered below, eyes wide with amazement. They watched as a bright light grew larger, descending toward their planet. "It's a ship!" someone shouted. The excitement spread like wildfire. The ship landed gracefully on a nearby open field, its metallic surface shining in the fading light. The people rushed to see what would happen next. As the ship's door opened, Captain Elias stepped out, flanked by a team of soldiers. They were clad in shining armor, carrying advanced weapons that gleamed in the sunlight. The Zorathians stood in awe, some too scared to approach, while others cheered with joy. "Are you the Zorathians?" Captain Elias called out, his voice steady. "We received your message. We are here to help." Lyra stepped forward, her heart pounding with hope. "Yes! We are the Zorathians. Thank you for coming. We need your help against the Zarathans." Captain Elias nodded, his expression serious. "We have much to discuss. Time is short, and we need to act quickly." As they began to talk, the hope that had flickered in the hearts of the Zorathians began to grow. With the arrival of the humans, they felt a new strength rising within them. They were no longer alone in this fight. Together, they would face the Zarathans, united in their quest for freedom. The sun rose slowly over Zorath, casting a warm glow on the land. People gathered in the open field where Captain Elias and his team had landed. Excitement buzzed in the air, mixing with the scent of fresh grass and flowers. The Zorathians were hopeful, their spirits lifted by the arrival of the humans. Captain Elias stood at the front of his team, his expression serious. "We have come to help you," he said. "But first we need to understand the situation. Can you tell us about the Zarathans and their attacks?" Lyra stepped forward, feeling a mix of fear and determination. "The Zarathans are ruthless. They have been attacking our cities, destroying everything in their path. They are powerful, and we don't know how to stop them. We need your strength and technology." Elias nodded, listening carefully. "We will do everything we can, but we must prepare ourselves. The Zarathans will not hold back. They will come again." As the sun climbed higher, the humans and Zorathians began to work together. The humans shared their advanced technology and training methods. They showed the Zorathians how to use weapons that gleamed with bright lights, powerful tools that could change the tide of battle. Lyra felt a surge of hope as she watched her people learn quickly. The Zorathians were brave and eager, ready to defend their home. They practiced drills and worked on their teamwork, combining their skills with the humans' advanced techniques. Every day brought new lessons, and with each lesson they grew stronger. The humans also learned from the Zorathians. They listened to stories about their culture, their history, and their connection to the land. The humans realized that the Zorathians were not just victims, they were fighters, willing to protect what was theirs. Captain Elias admired their spirit and determination. One afternoon, as they trained, a loud rumble shook the ground. The Zorathians froze, fear flashing in their eyes. "What was that?" someone shouted. Elias raised a hand, signaling for silence. "It could be the Zarathans," he said, his voice steady. "We need to be ready." Within minutes, the sky darkened as Zarathan ships appeared, soaring through the clouds like ominous shadows. Their engines roared loudly, sending chills down the spines of the Zorathians. The Zarathans were here, and they were coming to take what they wanted. "Prepare for battle," Elias shouted. The humans and Zorathians scrambled into action, their training kicking in. They moved swiftly, taking their positions. The Zorathians stood shoulder to shoulder with the humans, united for the first time. As the Zarathon ships descended, a chilling silence fell over the field. Then, the first blast of energy shot out from the enemy ships, illuminating the sky with a blinding light. The humans returned fire with their advanced weapons, sending bright beams shooting back at the Zarathons. Lyra's heart raced as she fought alongside the humans. She had never felt such power coursing through her. She fired her weapon, hitting a Zarathon ship, which exploded in a shower of sparks. Cheers erupted from her people as they witnessed their strength combined with that of the humans. The battle raged on, filled with explosions and the sounds of shouting. The Zorathians fought with all their might, encouraged by the bravery of the humans beside them. Elias led his team fearlessly, coordinating attacks and ensuring everyone worked together. The tide of the battle began to turn. The humans' technology, combined with the Zorathian spirit, overwhelmed the Zarathans. Slowly, the enemy ships started to retreat, their forces dwindling under the united front. As the last Zarathan ship fled, a cheer rose from the Zorathians and humans alike. They had won their first battle together, and a bond was forming between them, stronger than anyone had expected. Lyra turned to Captain Elias, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you for believing in us," she said. "Together we can save Zorath." Elias smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "This is just the beginning. Together we will show the Zarathons that we will not be defeated." The people of Zorath felt hope rekindle within them. With the humans by their side, they were ready to fight for their freedom and their future. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The sun rose over Zorath, bringing light and warmth to the land. After their hard-won battle against the Zarathons, the mood in the capital was electric. The Zorathians and humans celebrated their victory together, sharing laughter and stories under the bright blue sky. King Edrin and Captain Elias stood together, watching the excitement unfold. "Today was a great victory," Edron said, his voice filled with pride. "But we must keep preparing. The Zarathons will return." Elias nodded, understanding the truth in Edron's words. "We need to strengthen our defenses. We can't rely on luck. Let's work together to create a plan that will protect Zorath." The next day, the two leaders gathered their teams. They sat around a large table in the palace, maps of Zorath spread out before them. The humans shared their knowledge of tactics and strategy, while the Zorathians added their insights about the land and its features. Lyra, eager to contribute, pointed to a mountain range on the map. "The Zarathons will have to come through here to attack our main city. We can set up traps in the narrow paths." Her idea sparked interest among the others. They began to brainstorm together, combining their ideas into a solid plan. As they discussed, the humans showed the Zorathians how to build defenses using materials from the land. They used their advanced technology to create barriers and traps that would slow the enemy down. The Zorathians were quick learners, adapting to the new methods with excitement. Days turned into weeks, filled with hard work and teamwork. The Zorathians and humans trained together, honing their skills. They shared meals and stories at night, forging strong bonds. Lyra and Captain Elias grew close, both feeling a shared sense of purpose. One evening, while they were practicing, a young Zorathian boy named Keon approached Lyra. "Can I join your team? I want to help fight!" His eyes sparkled with determination. Lyra knelt down, smiling at him. "You're brave, Keon, but you need to learn first. We'll teach you everything we know. You'll be strong one day." Keon nodded eagerly, ready to learn. As they trained him, Keon showed surprising skill and agility, impressing everyone. Soon, he became a symbol of hope for the Zorathians, representing the future they were fighting for. As the days passed, the tension in the air grew heavier. They knew the Zarathons were regrouping, preparing for another attack. The Zorathians and humans finished their defenses, feeling a sense of accomplishment. They stood together, gazing at the fortifications they had built with their own hands. One night, as they gathered around a fire, Elias addressed the group. "Tomorrow we will be tested again. But I believe in each of you. We have trained hard and we fight for each other. Together we are stronger than the Zarathons." The Zorathians cheered, their spirits lifted. They felt a sense of unity and purpose. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for a future where they could live freely. As dawn broke the next day, the atmosphere changed. The sky was filled with dark clouds, and a chill ran through the air. The Zarathon ships appeared on the horizon, their ominous silhouette striking fear in the hearts of many. Lyra stood tall, her heart pounding but filled with resolve. "We will not back down," she whispered to herself. As the enemy approached, Captain Elias gave the command. "Ready your weapons! Stand strong!" The humans and Zorathians took their positions, hearts racing in anticipation. They could hear the roar of the Zarathon ships as they descended, a sound that filled the air with dread. But this time, the Zorathians stood side by side with the humans, united and prepared. The battle began, and the sky erupted with flashes of energy and explosions. The Zorathians fought fiercely, using the traps and defenses they had created. Elias and his team coordinated their attacks, fighting with skill and bravery. As the clash continued, Lyra felt a surge of courage. She remembered the boy Kian and all the hopes riding on their shoulders. Together, they were not just a group of fighters, they were a united force. With every shot fired and every enemy pushed back, they proved that working together made them stronger. They were ready to face the darkness of the Zarathons, determined to protect their home and each other. The day of the final battle dawned cold and gray over Zorath. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, as if the universe itself knew the weight of the fight ahead. King Edrin and Captain Elias stood at the front lines, their faces set with determination. The Zorathians and humans had trained hard for this moment, but now a thick tension filled the air. "We must show the Zarathons that we will not be defeated," Elias said, his voice steady. The soldiers gathered around him nodded, gripping their weapons tightly. "This is our home, and we will protect it together." As the sun barely broke through the clouds, the sound of engines roared in the distance. The Zarathan ships were coming, their dark forms slicing through the sky like ominous shadows. The Zorathians looked at each other, fear flickering in their eyes, but they stood tall beside their human allies. "Stay strong!" Lyra shouted, her heart pounding in her chest. "We are ready for them. Together!" As the enemy ships descended, Elias gave the order. "Positions!" The soldiers moved into place, hearts racing. The Zorathians took their positions behind the barricades, while the humans prepared their advanced weaponry. They were ready to fight for their lives and their world. The first blasts of energy erupted from the Zarathan ships, lighting up the sky with bursts of color. The soldiers responded quickly, firing back with everything they had. The ground shook as explosions echoed all around them. Smoke and debris filled the air, but they did not falter. Lyra fought fiercely, her training kicking in. She remembered the faces of the people she was protecting, the children, the families, and her friends. Each shot she fired was fueled by love for her home and the bonds she had formed with the humans. As the battle raged on, the Zorathians fought bravely, inspired by the humans standing beside them. Elias coordinated the attacks, shouting orders as they moved with precision. "Flank them from the left! Don't let them breach our lines!" The Zarathans pushed hard, their ships swarming like dark clouds. They came at the Zorathians with ferocity, but the united front held strong. Every time the enemy seemed to gain ground, the humans and Zorathians pushed back, fighting with a strength they hadn't known before. In the midst of the chaos, Kian, the young boy who had trained with them, spotted an enemy ship breaking through their defenses. Fear surged through him, but he remembered Lyra's words. "I can help," he thought, rushing to grab a small weapon. "Stay back, Kian!" Lyra shouted, but it was too late. The boy, driven by courage, aimed at the ship and fired. The shot struck true, hitting the Zarathan ship and causing it to spiral out of control. It crashed nearby with a deafening boom, sending up a plume of smoke. Lyra's heart swelled with pride. "Kian!" she shouted, but she had no time to celebrate. The battle was far from over. They had to push through. Hours passed, and exhaustion began to weigh on everyone. The Zorathians and humans fought with grit, their bodies aching but their spirits unbroken. They had become a true team, relying on each other for strength. Elias led them forward, refusing to let despair take hold. Then, as the sun began to set, casting an orange glow over the battlefield, the tide began to turn. With one final push, the Zorathians and humans rallied together. They charged forward, their hearts beating as one. "For Zorath!" they cried, their voices rising above the roar of the battle. Elias led the charge, his weapon raised high. "Together!" he shouted, and they surged forward as a single force. The Zarathans, taken by surprise, began to falter. One by one, their ships fell, retreating into the sky. As the last of the Zarathon ships fled, a wave of relief washed over the battlefield. The Zorathians and humans stood together, exhausted but victorious. They had fought side by side and emerged stronger than ever. Lyra dropped to her knees, tears of joy streaming down her face. "We did it! We won!" she cried. The soldiers cheered, hugging each other and celebrating their hard-earned victory. Captain Elias looked around, pride swelling in his heart. "This is just the beginning," he said. "Together we will rebuild. Together we will protect Zorath." As the sun set, painting the sky with brilliant colors, the people of Zorath knew they had found not just allies, but friends. They had faced darkness and emerged victorious, united by hope and determination. They were ready to face whatever the future held, together.